10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
What a spectacular sport drag racing is. Highs, lows, stories abounding from this past weekend, and we're talking about it right here on the Competition Plus Power Hour, presented by Weldon High Performance. So, over there, Darren Williams Jr., I never can get that right. Over there, Darren Williams Jr., assistant editor for CompetitionPlus.com, and I'm Lee Kraft, a.k.a. the Monday Morning Racer. I don't really know what I do for Competition Plus. I'm just here, and I happen to show up on weekends and do stuff like the Peak Pit Notes. But it's cool to do that either which way. Darren, a lot of drag racing to talk about. I want to talk about this, though, first and foremost, even though we might not have a lot to expound on it. Again, though they may not be drag racers in the sense of being behind the wheel, the NHRA Safety Safari showed out once again this weekend. It is amazing to me that Friday night there was even a single session that was produced for qualifying in Nitro.
James Roger Lee Kraft. You know, I start all the shows off like that, but man, you talk about it. This is the third straight race where NHRA moved their start time up from either 11 or noon on Sunday to 10 a.m. because of rain. And obviously, like you said, Friday, I mean, you were there, so you know, I didn't think we were going to get any action on track, but we did get Nitro on track. And it's just 2023 is the year of the rain. You think about Gainesville got hit with rain. Charlotte got hit with rain. Bristol, Epping. I mean, and now this past weekend in Norwalk, I think it's good that we're going out to the West Coast because now we get all the rain out the way. It's good that we're going out west now, I think.
You never know. NHRA might be bringing it with them for all we know. We have freak storms. Granted, I will say, from what I understand in NHRA history, there have been far worse years for rain, especially some epic ones in the 80s for sure. But what a testament to honestly, the passion and love for drag racing that the people of the Safety Safari just absolutely must have. The work they put in. They attempted to dry and regain that track several times on Friday. They never threw in the towel. I was this close to just going back to the motel instead of hanging out. But they got one session in, and what a cool session it was. It was fully under the lights, and with the humidity that was in the air, the nitro just lingered and the smoke lingered, and it looked that much more epic under that setting for drag racing. So, again, thank you, NHRA Safety Safari.
And Lee, you know, I've never been to Norwalk, but you've been to Norwalk plenty of times. For the fans who haven't been there, it's pretty different than most racetracks. Just kind of explain to everybody at home who hasn't been to Norwalk, just kind of how it's different from, say, your Pomona or Phoenix or something like that.
It must be experienced. I have to agree with that. You're going to hear that from anyone that has been there. You know, Noah Mighty Mac, he mentioned that he was told you've got to be there, and he has said on his videos, yes, you've got to show up. I like to put it this way. You've got Z-Max, and that is like the 5-star commercial chain restaurant, all right? Mm-hmm. Or in talking with Brian Loans, he said, yes, it is it is a spectacular facility, but it's sterile. And I have to agree with that. Well, Norwalk is the opposite of that. It's the 5-star, one-off, family-owned restaurant. Mm-hmm. And it certainly is not sterile. It has life and theme and character to it. From the ice cream to what I love, that huge American flag that sits right on the starting line, the backdrop of the big backboard that they like burn down every year with the Night Under Fire program. It is well thought out. The angle of the grandstands is great to watch drag racing and film drag racing, yet there's also general admission wooden stands. So if you're really into that and you want to get that feel, you can go to those general admission stands and still get that. The pits, they're long ways, which if you were conducting the covering alcohol exercise program like I was this weekend. It is long, but they are laid out nice. It's a track that you can find shade. There's actually pits on both sides. It's not just one side. Certainly the pro side is on one side, but you actually have pits on what would be the spectator side that you can interact with. And it is a phenomenal facility that is very well ran. The staff there is extremely helpful, and you can always tell clearly who are the staff members. They're wearing that America's Racetrack, Summit Motorsports Park jersey, white pants, and you're able to go up to them and get the help that you need. It is a well thought out, well ran, well presented facility. And shout out to Mary there in the media center, always taking care of the people in the media center. And we had like free access to all the ice cream we wanted. And
that's nice.
And, 2-3 meals a day and plenty of access to Diet Coke and waters and even like vitamin water. So like high level taking care of the people in the media. So Norwalk, Bill Bader Jr., who we had on the show last week, you did it again. Keep up the good work.
Well, Lee, not only is Norwalk Summit Motorsports Park a great looking racetrack, there was some great action on track this past weekend as well. And there were so many storylines from the Camping World Series to the Lucas Oil Series to Pro Mod to Factory Stock Showdown. And I think, obviously we always kick off the shows with the Camping World Series, but we got to start off with Lauren Freer from Pat Austin becoming the first to do the double in Topeka 1991 to Lauren Freer in Norwalk 2023. How about it? The first female to do it. History. We witnessed history this past weekend at Summit Motorsports Park.
Man, as you said, there are so many storylines. This race, some said it this way. I have to agree. It was a mini Indy. That is like the importance of the storylines in this. And yes, Lauren Freer, and we're going to have her on the show later. It is so good to have her along with Matt Hartford later. We don't get to talk to the Sportsman people enough, but what she accomplished, there aren't many firsts in drag racing anymore. And Darren, I think you would agree with me. There aren't many firsts anymore for women in drag racing because they have had such a successful run in drag racing with the likes of Shirley Muldowney, Erica Enders, Angel Sampay, and now even Camry Caruso. There's not many more firsts on the table, but she got that last one on her plate and ate it up. And it is so cool for her to get it done in Super Comp and Super Gas at Norwalk. She got 2 scoops. I think they get scoops at that level. I hope they did.
They
2
do.
Wallies,
They do.
2 scoops, and she can eat double the ice cream now. All right? I mean, you got to love that. That's pretty cool. And, I mean, wow. Just I can't imagine. She had it's 20 rounds of competition.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough enough that's tough enough in one class. And I asked once Dallas Glenn about bracket racing. He said, when I'm in the pro stock car, I have to be perfect for 4 rounds. But when I do big money bracket racing, or you're doing bracket racing at the national event level, you have to be perfect upward to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rounds to get that win. And I remember looking at the reaction times in one of her finals. It was like 003 to 007 going down to the wire. Impressive feat by her doubling up, and truly a lady that can say doing a first in NHRA competition amongst and in a sport that women have done so well in.
It was Lauren Freer's 5th and 6th national event win of her career, first national event win in 6 years, and she's the 30th driver in NHRA history to do the double. Simply amazing. And like you said, 2 trophies, 2 ice cream scoops, and I love the picture of her with the 2 trophies. Looks like an old WWE undisputed world champion right there with those 2 trophies. I like it.
That's right. They need to be belts. Look at that. Look how happy she is. She should be. I love this photo. Holding up those 2 Wallies, right trailers there on the fire suit. Got double medallions. Looks like she is a Olympic winner right there. And just cool
And then
that she was able to do that.
And then you do it in super comp, super gas, 890, 990, two of the top dot 90 classes in NHRA. I mean, just simply amazing. That girl can drive, and she showed you that this past weekend. I cannot wait to have her on the show and talk to her here tonight. Because, like you said, we don't get to talk to a lot of the Sportsman drivers, so I'm excited.
I'm excited as well. Elin Warner, the individual that helps us book the show, thank you, Elin. He mentioned that she's actually racing tonight somewhere in Michigan. There must be a big money bracket race going on of some type. So we're going to get her. I don't know how long we're going to have her. I don't know when she's popping in. She is scheduled to be the first guest, but when we get her, she is in race mode. So it's going to be cool to talk to her about from Norwalk, the work to get everything prepared to go racing again. And are you still carrying the excitement and the jubilation, or has that all subsided and it's now serious race mode once again? Because you know what? When you put it back in the beans on the next race day, no one cared about what you did in the previous race. You got to go do it again.
That is true. That is true. And we got a comment here from Dave W. talking about, I just said she's the 30th driver to do the double in NHRA history. He says, name the other 29. And I cannot do that whatsoever. But no. I do have a trivia question for the fans watching at home. And Dave, you cannot answer this. So as we all know, Pat Austin was the first to do it in Topeka in 1991. Not who was the second driver to do the double, but where was the second double at and what year? Let me know down in the comments.
All right, let me know do some digging. And I think even though 30 drivers have done it, it's been done 45 times.
Yes.
So it is rare. It does happen, but it is rare. And I think a testament, though, to the Sportsman driver and the fact that they really are professional in their own way. Because you've got Pat Austin doing it honestly in what I would consider really a modern era of drag racing, the beginning of it, if you will, and that 45 doubles have been done since that. So that tells me that Sportsman racers are going to more races. They're entering more races in a double fashion. They are more of professional racers, and we want to give them credit for sure.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I definitely do agree with that. And correct me if I'm wrong, and Dave will correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Pat Austin is probably the only one to do it in actual professional category to do the double up to this point. I think all the other ones have become both in Lucas Oil Sportsman Series.
Yes, I believe that's the case. Yeah. I mean, you cannot do the double now by the rules.
Yeah.
In the professional categories, which needs to be changed. Well,
I mean, because Sean Langdon still does Lucas Oil and then runs Top Fuel sometimes. He can still pull off the double, but you can't do two Camping World Series classes at the same time.
No.
Yeah.
The closest you can get to it is running a professional Camping World, and then you run something such as Pro Mod.
Yeah. There you go. Well, Lauren Freer was the only one to pull off history this past weekend. Blake Alexander, an improbable win at Summit Motorsports Park this last weekend. First career win in Nitro Funny Car. He had two previously in Top Fuel. He won in Norwalk and Sonoma back in 2018. How much of a coincidence he gets his first Funny Car win where he got his first Top Fuel win? But here's the story. He becomes the 18th different driver to win at both Top Fuel Funny Car. We're just talking about that, how you can't run two Camping World Series classes at the same time anymore. Well, he does it, becomes the 18th different driver. And Dave asks, who's the 29 other drivers to do the double? Well, I couldn't do that. But I have the 18 drivers to win both in Top Fuel and Funny Car. Blake Alexander joins the likes of Don the Snake Perdome, Mark Oswald, Gene Snow, Frank Hawley, Kenny Bernstein, the Bud King, Tom the Mongoose McEwen, Ed the Ace McCullough, Mike Dunn, Scott Coletta, Jim Head, Blake Alexander's car owner, Ron Capps, Tommy Johnson Jr., Gary Selzy, the Wild Thing, Gary Selzy, Melanie Troxel, Dale Worsham, J.R. Todd, and Sean Langdon. Blake Alexander joins that list of drivers to win in both Nitro classes, Top Fuel, and Funny Car. That is a who's who of drag racing. That is amazing.
Certainly, it is. It has been rare. And, we're still waiting. It's fascinating to me. No one has done. Someone needs to do it in all of them. And someone needs to hurry up and do it. I think the most likely candidate is honestly Antron. It's not Alex, even though, Alex could potentially. I don't see him getting on a bike, but you got Antron already having the bike wins, already having the top fuel wins. We know that he has an interest and may very well track toward a funny car eventually. All he needs to do is get in that Pro Stocker. Go rent one from Elite. Go rent one from KB. Figure it out. Go get it all, Antron. Do it, please.
Antron. Hey, he's one of the best to ever do it. I would never count him out. If Antron's the first to do it, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
I'd love to see that. I would love to see that.
But how about Blake Alexander, though? You talk about, starting off his career in top fuel. And it's kind of like Dale Worsham. So Dale Worsham started his career in funny car, and he moves to top fuel, never wins the championship in funny car because of a guy named John Force. He goes to top fuel, drives for Alanabi, wins the championship, winner take all in a semifinal with Spencer Massey. And he has that top fuel championship. It's like, okay, yes, Dale has a championship, but it's in top fuel. It's like he's a funny car driver at heart. Then he finally gets that funny car championship in 2015, an amazing showdown with Jack Beckman. Well, same with Blake Alexander. Even though it's not a championship, he started his career in Nitro Funny Car. He goes to top field, gets a few wins. It's still like, yeah, he has some wins, but he's a funny car driver at heart. Well, he finally gets it done this past weekend in Norwalk, and I'm happy for that team. And that's Jim Head's Racing first win since Memphis, 1997. It's a long time.
It's a long time, and that team and that organization needed that win in more ways than one after the tragedy that happened to the team with the hauler and losing the crew member, and they needed the win. And I believe, Jim needed the win, and Blake needed the win. And, DRC is talking about the emotion in the interview and the emotion he had in the press room, the emotion period. Well, that comes out because of the hard work.
Yes.
And many people handle it differently, but interacting with these drivers, to be at that level, it is tough.
Mm-hmm.
And I interact and I talk with so many that one race they do a year is all that they can do, and they're hoping that they can do more, but that one is what they can do, and that's all they could do, and they put everything they could in it to get it done. Mm-hmm. It is not easy to be at, well, as the Mystic says, pinnacle of racing in the world of drag racing. Blake Alexander mentioned, hey, I wake up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. before, I do stuff with my family and so on. I'm putting the shoe leather out there on pavement, as it were, and trying to work out deals and trying to find money. And he was also very thankful to Mr. Head that he has given him a place to be able to build. Mm-hmm. And for a team that is part-time, does not come out to every race, to win in what is possibly the most competitive era that we've seen in funny car and nitro period. Wow. What an impressive win. And also a showcase of his driving talents and ability, and that, yeah, he's a funny car racer for sure.
Well, and I mentioned on the show with Dave W. on Sunday, I'm like, when it's your day, it's your day. He had two drivers red light against him in the first rounds, Tim Wilkerson and Alexis Joria, but he still was strong. He ran strong all day long.
Yes.
Bob Tasca smokes the tires right to hit in the semifinals, but final round, he left on Hagen. He left on Hagen, and he outran Hagen in the final round. Blake Alexander deserved this win. And Lee,
yes,
you want to take a look at the motion from Blake Alexander?
Let's do it.
Guess what, race fans? That trophy's going to stay right here in Ohio. 393, 321 miles an hour. Matt Hagen goes 399 at 327 miles an hour. Blake Alexander wins for Jim Head.
The Summit Nationals medal around the neck of Blake Alexander. That first funny car Wally is going to go in the hands of Blake Alexander. Now that ice cream scoop is also yours, Blake. You returned to the seat of a funny car in 2019, and it has showcased a series of highs and lows for you. What does this achievement represent?
This is hard. This is hard. This is hard. Waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to work my ass off to get money. Thank you, Robert Bruce. Thank you to my wife. Everyone who puts up with my shit. I love you guys. Pronto, Parts Authority. Thank you guys for being here today. I had a good day with you guys today. We'll do it again.
That's an interview right there.
That's an interview. That's an
That's
interview. And look,
Hey.
I can tell you, I get to experience that with Funny Car Chaos. I'm there at the top end, and it is cool that you're able to put a camera in someone's face and do it quickly. And that's the key. Do it quickly. And the emotion is there. You could tell Blake looked like a bull ready to come out of the gate. Let me do this interview. I got to get this out. And that is so cool to see. And the raw emotion, yes. And we certainly need that in the sport. And one reason why you're getting that is because of the work he's put in and the success he has not had, but has wanted and has tasted and knows that he could do it, but he hadn't done it in so long. That is why it came out that way. Some of the people out there, they got to remember how they got to not take it for granted of being there, and remember how hard it is and how blessed they are at the same time.
Yeah. And like he said, this stuff is hard. This stuff is hard. He said it many times. And, when you work for something your whole life and you can never get it done, and when you finally break through, it's like that motion just comes out. And we've seen that from Blake Alexander. And, man, I hope this is the first of many for Blake. I hope so.
For sure.
Hey,
what a great weekend of drag racing.
Also, shout out to Amanda Busick, medal around the neck. That is like her catchphrase whenever she does an interview. I love that. The medal goes around the neck. She says that all the time. I love it.
We all have our catchphrases.
I like it. It's like one of her trademarks. He should trademark medal around the neck. I like it.
Well, man, we are under 10 minutes from having our first guest on. We'll be waiting for Lauren Freer to come into the green room. Again, she is racing, and if she turns on a wind light before she comes on and is a little bit late, turn on the wind light, girl, and keep on going rounds up there in Michigan. Carl Butler informed that it's the spring SFG $1 million weekend in Michigan. Shout out to that promotional group. They do a phenomenal job in the world of big money bracket racing. Darren, what else from the weekend?
Oh, man, there's so much more to talk about. I mean, shoot. I mean, we could talk about Pro Stock later because we're going to have our Pro Stock winner on in just a second. Shout out to Hector Rana Jr. getting the win in Pro Stock Motorcycle.
That's another good story, too. A story that could be so much more than us just talking on this show. Similar story to Blake Alexander, someone that had done so much in Pro Stock motorcycle racing, first to 200 miles per hour, numerous wins, and he's out of a ride. He's not on a motorcycle. Coming out just one time a year, trying to work deals, and now he's back, and they're winning, and they've got sponsorship behind him. So, again, hard work to be out there and to be on the top and be doing drag racing in NHRA Camping World.
And, and not just coming out and winning this race, but let's not forget, like you mentioned, he's part-time, won a few races at the end of last season, had that big win at the Las Vegas Fall Race, and then Gittrex and that whole team over there, they hop on, step up with the Hector Rana Jr., Hector Rana, and that whole team. Now they're full-time this year, and they basically just picked off where they left off last year.
Yes.
So I'll tell you what, no time to panic whatsoever for Gage Herrera. No time to panic.
No.
I think he still has the best bike by far in Pro Stock motorcycle. But with him kind of coming back down to earth the past couple events, Hector Rana Jr. right now is another key player in Pro Stock motorcycle, I would say.
Certainly is. And I think it's important. Look, Gage Herrera had a great start to the season, obviously. Cannot take that away from him. But anyone out there that had such discussions as, oh, here's a championship favorite right now. He is a championship favorite. He is not the championship favorite. Remember, we live and exist in a drag racing world with a countdown, IG Robert Height.
And we live in a time where if somebody starts to dominate, they're going to strap 5 pounds on your bike too. So
right. Yes, they're coming. They're coming. Well, look, I mean, remember last year, I know we talking about the 5 pounds after several races and the rule adjustment being made. But remember last year, if I remember correctly, Matt Smith, they made a rule change based off of the Mile High Nationals.
Yes, you're correct.
Which is an outlier event.
Yes.
For everybody.
We see this all the time. But like I said, for Gage Herrera, even though they strapped 5 pounds on that motorcycle, still number one qualifier. And, you go back to the red light in Bristol, he comes to the Mr. Foods Challenge and red lights again in the first round of the Mr. Foods Challenge. I think that just had to do with if they would have, and Dave W mentioned this on Sunday, if he just would have had those 2 rounds on Friday to kind of get that out of his head, that would have never happened Saturday. It was just first round since coming off the red light. It's probably just still in his head, hadn't got back, in a groove of things, and he turned on the red light once again. And then Sunday, just shot themselves in the foot. Mechanical failure or just ball ground to start line. Not his fault. They'll be back. No time to worry.
I will say this: I'm not sure what was going on at Norwalk. If people just want to win there that badly, if it was just the conditions, the rush of trying to get the event in, I don't know. But there was a lot of red lights, and there was a lot of people two-stepping. I saw that in the A field and the funny car ranks. It was a higher number than usual turning on the red light or mismanaging the starting line from the go.
Okay, so Bill Bader does a great job running his racetrack and puts on heck of events.
Yes.
This Norwalk, this Summit Motorsports Park, and this Summit Racing Equipment Nationals is being elevated as one of the top races on the tour. You just mentioned it.
Yes.
Indy Light. It's like Indy-esque with all the classes that's there. This is becoming a big race, and all these drivers want to win it, and they want to win it. It is becoming, slowly becoming, in its own right, the old NHRA World Nationals. I'm joking.
Remember, one of the crown jewels of the sport would have been considered at one time Columbus, just down the road. And up the road now, you have a jewel being pressed into shape for sure, if not already.
And you think about it, so we've lost tracks like Phoenix, Houston, Atlanta, with all this history. I feel like those are like, you think about the majors in our sport, the Winter Nationals, the Gator Nationals, the U.S. Nationals, once the Super Nationals or Summer Nationals in Englishtown, New Jersey. Well, Englishtown's now gone. We still have Pomona. We still have Gainesville. But you have like these newer tracks that are kind of being elevated now. A Norwalk, a Dallas with the Stampede of Speed. These are like newer. These are like these now kind of second-tier races on the NHRA schedule. And so Norwalk is a big race. These drivers want to win it. And I think that's why you saw a lot more two-steps and red lights this past Sunday.
I think so. They want that extra trophy. And how cool is it also that there is an extra regional tied to the track type of trophy? Nothing against the Wally. Mm-hmm. But when you see John Force, he's on the show, when he does come on, and behind him are all those Wallies, or Dan Fletcher, and all those Wallies are behind him, you can't tell where they're from. Mm-hmm. You just know they won a lot. Mm-hmm. But that ice cream scoop, you won at Norwalk.
And what did it say on it? Guns, God, and what else? And glory and guts?
I believe so. I believe
God's guns and
yeah.
I like it. Very catchy. I dig it. And so,
well, we are waiting for our first guest. Got a couple of minutes. Have not seen her appear into the green room quite yet. Darren, the racing in the professional categories was spectacular across the board. We haven't talked Top Fuel as of yet, though. And in Top Fuel, it was a momentous win for Leah Pruitt, and did it over stiff competition, and in the final over competition such as Justin Ashley, who has, been the top performing driver and car in NHRA competition thus far in 2023. We'll have Darren back momentarily. Apparently we lost him. As in momentarily. There he is, right there. So Leah Pruitt, the win, and qualifying. Yes, number one, right? Yes, number one. Qualifying number one. Keeps the number one status all through the day. Does it over the likes of Salinas and Justin Ashley. Impressive day. A statement race out of the Tony Stewart Nitro Group with the dragster.
So, Blake Alexander spoils a Tony Stewart Racing Nitro double in Norwalk, but it was a great story, so who cares? But the dragster is the one that comes out on top. We're always talking about the funny car. Well, the dragster is the one that come out on top on Sunday, Leah Pruitt. But here's the thing, though. So, get this. In Pro Stock and Top Fuel, both your winners, Matt Hartford and Leah Pruitt, it's both their first wins of the season. It's both wins from the number one qualifying position, and it's both their first wins since Denver, the Mile High Nationals in 2022. How about that?
That's impressive.
That's impressive. Yeah.
Let me ask this. We do have Lauren Freer in the green room very quickly before we go to her and chat with her concerning history made in the NHRA and what she's up to even right now racing. Do you think that the potential championship mojo that Leah Pruitt had all the way back in 2020 before the incident at St. Louis is back and there for that TSR team?
Well, and you mentioned that. Let's take a look at a quick graphic before we bring Lauren on, because we got to get her on. Like you said, she's busy. 2022 to 2023. You can't see it at the bottom, but 0 wins, 0 final rounds, 0 number one qualifiers, and a 3-8 round record, and a DNQ in Gainesville, 12th in the points through the first 9 races last year. You come into 2023 this year, she has a win at Norwalk, has 1 runner-up, which came at the Charlotte 4-wide, 2 number one qualifiers, which has come back-to-back in Bristol and Norwalk, 13-8 round record, and she is 3rd in points. Basically, last year, leaving Don Schumacher Racing, going to Tony Stewart Nitro Racing, was a whole new team they put together, brand new team. That wasn't the same team she had at Don Schumacher Racing. Brand new team. It took a time for them to gel. They took all of last year to gel, and now you're seeing it. Neil Strasbaugh, the head crew chief on that car, he's been around for a long time, has worked with greats like Mike Green, worked on the Yankees car, has worked with Corey Mack, has worked with Tony Schumacher. He knows what he's doing. That car is back on track, and I'm not saying they're a championship contender, but they are one of the key players here in 2023.
They absolutely are. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break right here on the Competition Plus Power Hour, and we will get Lauren on next and talk about this historic double there in Norwalk, Ohio. You know, Darren, I definitely want to know if she's used both scoops for that much more ice cream. That's what I want to know.
Hey, after we go to commercial, you want to play the video of her finals, or you want to go right into it?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay.
Are you going to handle that, or am I handling that?
Commercial or video? Which one?
Commercial, then video.
All right, you go commercial. I'll do video.
All right, folks, we got it worked out right here, live. We know what we're doing. We haven't game planned this, obviously you can tell. We're taking a break right now. Thank you, Weldon High Performance. You pump the show up.
Most of the time, you kind of get into a groove. You've got some runs, you're running rounds, you're turning around, you're going, and that's what both these drivers were doing last night. But now you got to come up here, one shot, one time for the trophy, and that very special ice cream scoop. Lauren Freer on the left, Dave Dahlem in the right. 8.9 seconds after the tree flashes, we're going to know who won. Both drivers away on the green. There's the throttle stop. Now the car's running wide open. Watch for the green numbers on the top of the scoreboard. That's going to be your winner. Lauren Freer goes 891 against the 890. That's a winner. Dave Dahlem had a double 05 reaction time, but he gave up the stripe. Dahlem goes 894 at 177 miles an hour. Lauren Freer picks up national event win number 5. In the left lane is Pat Martin out of London, Ohio. In the right lane is Lauren Freer. Remember a minute ago with the 890 cars, Lauren Freer, who won the race? That's her. She made it to the final in 2 different categories. She's got a chance to go home with 2 different ice cream scoops. Now, double up is certainly not unique in NHRA. 29 drivers have done it over the years since Scotty Richardson, or since Pat Austin did it for the first time back in 1991. But Lauren Freer, looking for a little piece of history right here, as she bumps the Corvette Roadster in. 9.9 seconds, that's the magic number. Both drivers get away on the green light. We got an Ohio car on the left side trying to stop the double up, and Lauren Freer in the Corvette playing the throttle games down there. She did it, 991, 161 miles an hour. Lauren becomes the 30th person to double in NHRA history, the first female to do it. She picks up 2 trophies. She picks up 2 ice cream scoops. Hey, why not get a double scoop of ice cream?
Lauren, welcome to the show. And wow, again, congratulations. There's a lot to talk about, but we got to know first, have you had double the ice cream since winning 2 at Norwalk?
No, not double the ice cream. I haven't even had any ice cream since we left, actually.
Well, again, congratulations. We were talking at the first part of the show that there is not many firsts in drag racing, period. And there's not many firsts in drag racing left for women in drag racing because women have been able to be so successful in it. But you did a first. Congratulations. And, well, what does it mean to you?
You know, I don't really know. It's still kind of pretty surreal. I keep looking at the Wally sitting on the floor and the ice cream scoops, and it still doesn't feel real. And I keep seeing all these posts and stories, and it's just it's insane.
So it's safe to say it hasn't set in yet for you. It still hasn't set in for you. Still like unbelievable.
I feel like it has and it hasn't. My dad keeps saying that it has.
And you're actually racing right now, correct? So kind of tell us, how you're doing in competition and what race you're at.
We left Norwalk Monday and we went to we're in Martin, Michigan at the SFG $1 million race, and I just lost 5th round, 11 cars in the $20,000 race.
Not a bad night going rounds there in Michigan as well. How long have you been drag racing at this point?
This year will make 26 years.
Wow.
26 years.
Makes me feel old saying that.
Well, 26 years of drag racing. How did it start? We got to know. Tell people your story of getting into drag racing and building up to now being a first producer in drag racing.
So my dad worked on Top Fuel Hydro boats when I was younger. So I used to go with him. He actually tried to license in one in Phoenix, and he only made 2 passes, and that was it. And he was done with that. So he just wrenched for a team, and my dad always had really fast boats as I grew up. So fast was always kind of a thing for me. And I started racing juniors when I was 10, and I quit cheerleading. I think it was right after, it's about two weeks after I got a junior, I quit cheerleading because they wanted me to miss a big Halloween race for a cheerleading competition. So cheerleading was out the door after that.
I think she made a good decision, Darren.
I think so. Quitting cheerleader, go drag racing. I like it. Yeah, and you mentioned Top Fuel Hydro. You think about it. A lot of people who have started off in Top Fuel Hydro or boats have transitioned to the asphalt in drag racing. You think of a guy like Eddie Hill and everything like that. And Top Fuel Hydros, that's a pretty dangerous sport, I would say. Really dangerous.
Yeah, I watched a few really bad crashes when I was very young, in Phoenix with my dad, and I've been like 140 in a boat, and it is in no comparison to a race car. It's scary. It's so super scary compared to a race car. Especially when you're not driving.
So this past weekend, like you talked about, the double, you win a Super Comp and Super Gas. It was your 5th and 6th national event win. But correct me if I'm wrong, it was your first national event win in 6 years. So just out of all that, how good did it feel to finally be back in the winner's circle on the NHRA stage?
It felt good. It felt great. It was my first win in Super Gas. I've had my Super Gas car for 10 years, and I've been in one final and multiple semifinals at national events. And it's been pretty frustrating not to get it in a winner's circle at a national. And, to think back, I guess, after my first national event win, it took me almost 6 or 7 years to win my second one in 2013, and then another 3 years for my third one, and then a year for my fourth. So it was definitely a long time in between these last ones.
Where's your first national at?
It was actually my second national event I ever entered, and it was at Bristol.
Nice, Thunder Valley.
I raced there. That was kind of a home track for me as I grew up in juniors.
Awesome.
So You talked there about the span of those national events. It had been 6 years since winning a national event. It's clear that it is very challenging in the Sportsman ranks to win a national event. And this national event, which you just doubled at, I'm sure it was just that much, if not more challenging because of the weather. They hot lapped you all on Saturday going into Sunday. So break down the logistics for us and the challenge of we got to fit all this racing in on one day, and then we're going to come back the next day and wrap things up, and being prepared and sleeping on it and getting up and able to do it again. What was that like? Take us through it, who are not behind the wheel in such a challenging situation.
You know, when you kind of get on a roll, you kind of want to, I would have preferred to have run the finals that night. But the aspect of being, you know, in front of the crowd on Sunday and kind of getting that moment of winning and the winner's circle with everybody. And that was, that made the weekend more, you know, more exciting. But yeah, just to keep the momentum going and be able to just kind of finish would have been good, but not as what's the word I'm looking for? You know, the moment would have been lost, I think.
And so you make it to two final rounds. You win the Super Comp final, and then you're going to the Super Gas final, which they run a little bit later in the day. Right before that Super Gas final, I mean, in the back of your head, I think you kind of know, like, hey, I know what's at stake here. Did you kind of like have to block all that out and just kind of stay focused? Or I'm sure you knew what was at stake going into that Super Gas final.
Yeah, I think that was the worst part, is sitting there all day, you know, waiting on the pros to run. And they called all the Sportsman guys up there, and I heard Alan Reinhart announce like 4 times, you know, a certain driver can make history. And I was like, God, Alan, can we just not talk about it right now? Can we just wait? And I, you know, because I could have lost both finals, and then that would have been pretty devastating. But after I won the Super Comp final, I've wanted to win in the Super Gas car so bad that it's been I don't know. I had already beat Pat Martin in Super Comp earlier Saturday night, so I knew he was probably gonna be ready for me.
Stop the revenge win and doubled up and made history. And yes, I know you all feel that way, but us in media, we have to do it. There's a particular driver in the alcohol ranks. I'm like, yeah, you know where you're at in points, right? Like, so we got to do it. We got to tell those stories. We got to build it up. And you got the job done over all the challenges and the pressure. You talked about Super Comp. You're talking about Super Gas. Break down the combinations of what you are driving in and what those classes are. I'm sure we might have people watching that they're certainly familiar with Funny Car, Top Fuel, Pro Stock Motorcycle, but when we get into those classes, they're not as familiar. So Super Comp, Super Gas, break it down for us.
So Super Comp, and Super Gas are both index racing. So it's not who gets there first, it's who's closer to the index without going under. Super Comp is an 890 index so you try and go as close to 890 as you can without going under 890. And we use throttle stops, which limit the carburetors from it uses electronics to slow everything down in the delay box. So I run a dragster in Super Comp, and then I have a roadster that I run in Super Gas, which is pretty much the same combination, but a smaller motor in Super Gas.
All right.
I like it. And then, like you said, you know, Super Comp and Super Gas, 2 high-level sportsman categories, 890, 990 classes. So it just goes to show how good of a driver you are behind the wheel. Just to take it into a little different direction, Andrew has a comment. He says, ask Lauren what NHRA needs to do to help sportsman racers, as far as like just giving you guys more exposure and putting you guys on a bigger stage.
I mean, I think it's kind of nice that they do the parade of sportsmen stuff. You know, after the sportsmen guys win, you know, it's not their fault that we don't. I'm not going to say don't get the exposure that we need. I think that, you know, the pros have to make their TV time, and that's not their fault. You know, it's not anybody's fault they will go down the track or anything else. So I just, you know, maybe a little bit more TV time for us, but I think that's probably about it.
Do you think that sportsman drivers in general, and I mean, a sportsman, you guys are pros, you guys are professional drivers, but do you think that you guys can do a better job at kind of exposing yourselves and doing a better job on social media and getting your guys' names out there to kind of promote your classes?
Yeah, definitely. I think we could probably all do better at, you know, saying, hey, we're running a hometown national event. You know, I live in Mooresville, and Charlotte ZMAX is only 30 minutes away from me, but I don't really tell people that I'm racing there ever. So it's just, I don't know. I think that, you know, we all could do better, honestly. Just telling
But
people that, go ahead.
But you guys are racers. You guys just want to race. I understand it. You just want to race. That's all.
Yeah, like, you know, my dad will have, you know, some friends that they came up here last year to this race at Michigan, and I'm like, yeah, we're kind of here to race, not here to, I don't know, show people how it's done, I guess. But it's fun when people come sometimes, especially when you do well. And then, other than that, it's kind of, I don't know. I'm kind of an introverted person, so I keep to myself.
I understand.
Well, Lauren, last question for you from me. And very simply, what does the rest of the year look like? We're having this chat. You're a sportsman racer. Granted, we know that many sportsman racers today, they are well beyond just showing up to one national event as it might have been many, many years ago. And there is typically a chase. You're from Mooresville, North Carolina. You're all the way up the road to Norwalk. And I know what that drive's like because I live in South Carolina. So, and you're in Michigan. So what else and what other national events and events do you plan on hitting this year?
Once we leave here, we don't race a whole lot in July and August. I think we might have like a bracket race or two at Rockingham. And then we have a National Open, NHRA National Open at Carolina Dragway. We have a divisional event at Galot. And then the Charlotte National event. And then we have, I think, 2 more divisionals at VMP and Rockingham. And then hopefully a couple more big money races, if we can get to those before the end of the year.
Sounds like a lot of racing still, Darren.
Yeah, pretty busy once September starts back up.
Hey, Lee, put that picture up of both with her holding both trophies real quick.
Oh, yeah, sure. We got to show that off as much as we can. Look at this lady. That is a happy lady right there.
Undisputed champion right there. Like, oh, WWE undisputed champion. I like it.
2 trophies, 2 medals. Yes.
And so final question for me, Lauren. So not a racing question, but outside of racing, correct me if I'm wrong, you're a radiation therapist during the week?
I am. I treat cancer patients with high doses of radiation. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. Well, Lauren, thank you for joining us here tonight. A busy night. You know, I know you're racing here tonight, so thank you for joining us here on Competition Plus Power Hour, and congratulations on all the success you had this past weekend in Norwalk, doubling up, becoming the 30th driver to pull off the double. Amazing.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yes, thank you for being on, and you got 2 Wallies, and now go get big paychecks, okay?
Yes. All right. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you, Lauren. Well, good to have Lauren on, chat with her about a historic win, 2 wins, not a win, 2 wins, and just good to have someone from the sportsman ranks on the show, frankly. Yeah. And I know that we don't have the biggest viewership because we don't actually always go for just the biggest names on this show. We're covering a broader spectrum, I think, of drag racing, and I think a deeper level of drag racing at times. And I think that is a testament to competitionplus.com and the platform that Bobby Bennett has built, that we would have a Lauren Freer on this show and chat with her, because I doubt many other platforms are going to be doing that anytime soon.
And I just love it. You could tell she was just so humble, after what she just pulled off this past weekend, and, to be racing this weekend, to come on and just to hear her story, her backstory. And man, 2 trophies. I love that picture of her with the 2 trophies. Like I said, WWE looked like a WWE undisputed champion right there, and much success to her in the future.
For sure, for sure. Well, we do got Matt Hartford in the green room, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get to him in just a few moments. Why don't we do a rundown of the other Sportsman winners? Darren, you've got some great graphics. Share with us who produces those for you. And you can catch on Darren's show right here on the CompetitionPlus.com platforms and the American Hot Rod Entertainment platform, inside the NHRA, a review of the NHRA national events that's done exceptionally well by yourself, Dave W., and many other guests rolling through and out on that program.
Hey, you were supposed to be on this Sunday too, correct? What happened?
I was, and I went miles after mile after mile attempting to find internet because we were outside the media center and could not. I would have loved to have been on and discussed the alcohol ranks, which we'll still get to tonight. Mm-hmm. Interesting storylines in the alcohol ranks this past weekend for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's take a look at our Sportsman winners from this past weekend. A shout out to James Qualls, Red Racer 1985. You'll see him in the comments for coming up with this graphic for Inside the NHRA. And like we just saw, Super Cop and Super Gas, congratulations to Lauren Freer. And Top Sportsman, Scott Wasco. Top Dragster, Joe Swanson. Factory Stock Showdown, Stephen Bale. And as we continue on, a Top Alcohol Dragster, congratulations to Kirk Wolf, first career national event win in Top Alcohol Dragster. And another first-time winner, Bob McCosh, finally gets it done in Top Alcohol Funny Car. In comp, you got Bruno Masso getting it done. Super Stock, Sean Dornan. And Stock, Marion Stephenson. And in Pro Mod, Fuel Tech Pro Mod, Jason Scruggs gets the win. Jason Scruggs, first race of the season that he's attended, number 1 qualifier, low ET of every round, and he wins the race. Congratulations to Jason Scruggs getting the win in Pro Modified. And those are your Sportsman winners from the 2023 Summit Racing Equipment NHRA Nationals from America's Racetrack, Summit Motorsports Park.
It was an epic show for sure throughout. Walt Walker says he loves the throwback graphics. Yes, James does a good job on those, and giving I think that's like the early 90s, like NHRA in review graphic. That I can recall. Definitely looks
like late
cool.
80s.
Late 80s, good 90s, to have it on the show for sure. Throwback nostalgia's big no matter what it is. I mean, I look at something like Stranger Things and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember what it was like because I'm getting old. Don't tell nobody.
a Stranger Things reference here on the Competition Plus Power Hour. I like it.
Right.
I like it.
Right.
Never know what you're gonna get.
you never know. You never know. Mike says, yeah, let's talk about the fighting in the alcohol pits. Well, I can tell you that
what happened. I don't even know.
So I try not to dig too deep into those stories and try to keep some air of respectability. I mean, I already have less of it because I wear these big shades and a hat and a beard, but from what I can understand, there was apparently someone complaining about someone tightening a fuel line, and someone was called old and needs to get out of the sport. And then there was some fists. So there you go.
Fist in the pits.
Yes.
Oh,
and apparently there was more than just one.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Does this guy name rhyme with Mitch? My bad. Move on. Look how quiet he is. Hey, we ain't gonna start on here. Let's move on. Hey, so before we bring on Matt Hartford, how about this? A 6th career win for Matt Hartford. Number 1 qualifier, wins the race. First win since Denver 2022. And guess where we go next, Lee?
Mile High.
Denver. A lot of momentum for Matt Hartford and that Total Seal team, Get Trek's team, going into the Mile High Nationals. And we have them on next. I like it.
We do. We have them on next. We'll take a break right now here on the Competition Plus Power Hour our next guest, the NHRA Camping World Pro Stock winner of the Summit Racing Equipment Nationals, Matt Hartford.
Classic car owners, make your headlights over twice as bright with Holley Retro Bright LED headlights. A plug-in replacement for those dim halogen seal beams, Retro Bright maintains that classic look and lasts 6 times longer. Stay safe and click the link below to learn more.
If you want to take your vehicle's performance to new heights, you got to give it P. Like our original equipment technology, antifreeze and coolant. Our formulas match the vehicle manufacturer's technology requirements so that we have the perfect match for every vehicle. That's one reason why Peak is among the fastest growing brands of coolant in America. We work harder to earn the trust of people like you every day.
Matt Hartford, welcome once again to the Competition Plus Power Hour. On certainly good terms, a win at Norwalk. How much ice cream have you had with that scoop?
Absolutely zero. None.
Man, people aren't using the scoop. Come on. We need to.
Earlier in the season, my crew chief, I think, called me fat. So I got to, he put me on a scale. So now I'm very limited to my ice cream. So he keeps pretty good record of what I weigh every week.
Okay. You're still allowed the wine, right? Though.
Hold on. Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Okay.
I'll forego the ice cream for the wine.
There you go. Well, look, I know. Look, we're going to talk to you about the win and the qualifying effort and how interesting Pro Stock is right now. But I want to know, since you're the Total Seal guy, we had on last week Erica Enders and asked about parts attrition in Pro Stock and what the heck is going on across the board. And she mentioned that, well, it's the quality of the raw material in parts today. Then I'm hanging out at McKinney Corp for a week before Norwalk, and I mentioned that, and McKinney's like, oh, yeah, wow, you won't believe we do testing and the raw material and the parts and all that. It has really gone down. Piston rings, raw material. Have you seen that difference of the quality in raw material to your production means as well?
Absolutely not. Our material is homologated. It's all Japanese steel. Everything comes to our spec, and it's been coming that way for over 20 years. So no, our stuff is as good or better than it was 20 years ago, and it keeps improving. And anytime we can find an improvement for something in the base material, we'll make that improvement. Wow.
Thank you, Japanese.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we've tried steel from all over the world, and if I could buy in the USA and get the same quality steel that I can get in Japan, I would buy it 100%. I would buy in the United States. However, with what we need and servicing the F1 teams and the NASCAR teams and the drag race teams and what they undergo for stresses, we have to have the best material every single day, every single part, and that's what we do.
Japanese making a great electronics, whiskey, and apparently steel.
Absolutely.
Don't forget Godzilla, Lee, too.
How could we?
Godzilla.
Well, Matt, first off, like I mentioned, congratulations on a big-time win this past weekend in Norwalk, Ohio. I say all the time, if someone continues to put themselves in contention and knock on the door constantly, at some point they're going to break through and get a win. Do you feel like that kind of notion kind of rang true for you and your team? If you just kept knocking on the door, at some point you guys are going to break through and get that win, which happened this past weekend.
Well, except for Bristol, we didn't knock on any doors. I don't even think we showed up at the racetrack. That's how bad we were a couple weeks ago. So, yeah, it's we have a great program. We have a absolutely top-notch crew, and when I say our crew, we're all volunteers. So, KI from CIP1, he's got a day job. The Volkswagen, any Volkswagen part you'd ever want comes from CIP1. My brother Adam Bastian, he builds houses and does commercial construction. Eddie Granacci, has a construction company as well and works on, commercial and residential. So we all come back, go to work. At 5 o'clock yesterday morning, I was already at the office, right? I guess it was about 5:30. So sooner or later, us part-time hobby racers, by what other people have called us in the past, we're going to knock them down.
Was that Was that a reference to another professional category, possibly? Right there?
Oh, it was a reference to Matt Smith, and I say it all the time, and I make no bones about it. And guess what? I say it right to him. And Matt and I are really good friends, and Angie, they're great people. His dad, Ricky, is a good friend of mine. My crew chief used to work with Ricky on the Pro Stock deal back in the day. But I say it because he's not wrong. I bring it up because I do not make my living by racing Pro Stock. I make my living by manufacturing and selling piston rings all over the world to the highest level teams possible. And then we go drag racing whenever we can find time. So he's not wrong. He makes his living drag racing. So we're on opposite ends of the spectrum. He's got 5 or 6 world championships. I have none. We're gonna have one this year.
I like that. I want to have one this year. And look, the class right now, Derek Kramer has come on exceptionally. Henry Caruso performing well. And, you have Erica Enders with this slump, if you will, and the win in Bristol. Yeah, it's an interesting time in Pro Stock right now where it seems like if you qualify, you've got a shot to go into the final and picking up a Wally.
I asked in the media center, I'm asking somebody to tell me one of the 16 qualifiers who does not have a chance to win the race and does not have a chance to win the championship, because I will challenge all of them that everybody on the property has a car that can win. Because remember, the points are going to reset after Indy. Going into Reading, the points are going to be reset. And when that happens, there's 16 cars that's went to every race. So you got 16 cars in contention. Which one does anybody want to say, oh, that guy doesn't have a chance? I'm not saying it because I think everyone does.
No, certainly. We are definitely in one of the golden ages of pro stock racing right now. And you mentioned at the start of this interview that, you guys, pretty much it seemed like you guys didn't even show up to Bristol. You start off the year hot, and then, like you mentioned, just kind of tailed off a little bit in Bristol and Chicago. What does that say about your team, though, to have that go through that little slip and to bounce back with the win like you did this past weekend? Because my next question was your team thinking championship? So obviously you guys are. What does that say about your team to be able to bounce back as hard as you did?
So we go to Chicago and we got really focused on the All-Star and we lost first round in the All-Star. Troy made a fantastic run, cost me a really nice bottle of wine too. Not happy about that. But in qualifying, we actually had an issue in the gearbox, which was self-inflicted, and we ended up qualifying 8th. We had we not had that issue, we probably qualify 2nd or 3rd. We don't put ourselves first car out in Chicago. Ran Greg first round, and we lost. And so Chicago, we really didn't show what we could do. We just kind of circumstances. Bristol, we showed up. I don't know what we did, but we didn't do anything right. From warming up the car till we packed up, everything that could go wrong went wrong. And it was one of those weekends you want to forget. And so we just X'd it off. We just said, okay, that weekend, it was an anomaly. That's not who we are. That's not our team. That's not how we race. Move on. Go into the next race. Don't even look at any notes from Bristol. Go back to what we know. And we did. And we go out there, we qualify in the pole. We're low for round 2, round 3, round 4. And, we turn a yellow hat into a blue hat. So we had a weekend that was phenomenal.
You mentioned in the media center, you've mentioned in other interviews, the discussion of going for the number 1 spot and going for a race day setup. And I find that there are even those type of discussions interesting. Take us into that type of discussion to, I'll say, play it safe and be ready for race day, or go to the top and we establish dominance over the entire field and make a statement run.
So our entire team, meaning myself, Eddie, Adam, and KI, are standing in the trailer right before. It's literally they're calling us to the lanes for Q2. We do not have a transmission built. We haven't decided on a tire. We don't have any ratios picked out. We don't have a clutch set up. Eddie had went up and looked at the starting line. Well, they're calling us to the lane. So I'm like, well, I think we ought to run this tire. Let's do this with the ratios. He comes in the trailer and says, listen, this is what it looks like. And I said, well, I think we ought to do this. He goes, do whatever you want. Oh, okay. And I'm like, well, what do you think? He said, do you want to get a race day set up or do you want to go to the pole? I said, well, what's the clouds say? He said, the clouds say that we can go to the pole. I said, well, I'm thinking this. What are you thinking? He says, I'm thinking this. And so argue is not the right word, but we bickered like two old ladies for 5 minutes, and all the other pro stock teams have already left. And I'm like, all right, we got to go. So let's go to the pole, put that tire on, build the gearbox like that, throw it in the car, let's go. And we rolled up there, and I said, what do you think? He says, let's go for it. We can do it. And I let the clutch out, and it was on a nice run. I, for once, didn't screw up in the car, hit all the shift points, and it went right to the top. So it's a matter of our team is so close that we can read each other on every decision we make. And we all wanted to go to the pole, but we also wanted to be in a good position for race day. So we were kind of back and forth, but at the end, we made the right decision.
And you've been in pro stock for such a long time, but that's now 2 number 1 qualifiers in your career just this season. So obviously,
Tom, are you getting your information from Alan Reinhart?
No. Why do you say that?
Okay, back up. What races have I qualified number 1 at this year?
Las Vegas and Norwalk, correct?
Charlotte.
Charlotte, Fort Watt.
And Vegas. And Norwalk.
So 3.
Yeah, as Reinhardt said up on stage, numbers are hard.
They are. So 3 number 1 qualifiers. My bad. Three.
Sorry, but it's just all weekend long he's been saying number 2. It's been their second one, so I've been correcting him every time.
I got my notes from Alan Reinhardt, but 3 number 1 qualifiers.
Perfect.
Excuse me. Yeah, 3 number 1 qualifiers. So obviously you guys have the performance, but you just mentioned a second ago that yes, pro stock right now, it's 16 different drivers, 16 different cars that are, have a chance at winning this championship this year. But for you, the story has always kind of been the past couple of years. It's always been Erica Gregg. That's always been kind of like the main story in pro stock. It's a little refreshing to now see a different, like it's now Matt Hartford, Dallas Lynn, Derek Kramer, seeing new guys kind of get some shine now in pro stock.
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember, Dallas is not new. Dallas is, he might be new to pro stock driving, but he's been around this for forever. He's been on the KB team working his butt off week in and week out, and he deserves everything he's gotten. He's a guy that's came from the bottom, worked his way up, and got a fantastic ride. Kramer, he's worked hard since 2013 to be in the position he's in. We've all went through the days where just to qualify it was hard, but it is nice. And look, no one's counting out Greg and no one's counting out Erica. They're as bad to the bone as it gets. If you add up their wins and championships, the rest of us are we don't even compare. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to roll up there and try to steal their thunder every Sunday that we can.
So, Matt, obviously talking about performance, qualifying number 1, stellar, the overall win. But you seem like you did a stellar job of driving. Worst light of the day was a 048, but the rest were 017, 028, and then against 00 Dallas, you had the 00, a 005 in the final round. Looked like you were on it, man.
Well, I think Dallas and Aaron Stanfield would tell you, if I have to race either one of them, I typically have decent lights against the two of them. Knock on wood, I hope that continues forever. But I consider both of those two guys like just kings of the class right now with the reaction time. And whenever you got to run them, you better be on your game because they're going to wear you out. And they've wore me out over the years. So you better go up there, be ready. Aaron and I think, left 4th hour apart. And then Dallas, that was not his light in the final wasn't normal for him. But had it been normal, I think we had the car to beat anyway. I think even if we left together, I think we're outrunning him. So I just needed to be clean and green on time, hit my shift points, and I think we win that race, even if he goes down.
Hey, Lee, do we have time to look at the Pro Stock final from Norwalk?
Let's look at it.
Let's do it.
Hartford wins it. 6.624, 207 miles an hour. That one was over early as Dallas squared the tire. And he is just kind of easing on down the summit side. But for Rottler, for Total Seals, CIP1, KI and the gang, Matt Hartford, 005 on reaction time. It didn't make a difference, but he was ready for 00 Dallas no matter what went down. And Matt Hartford, his second #1 qualifier of the year, he'll probably tell you he should have won 2 or 3 races already this year. Well, he got his first one, and he may have the best car in Pro Stock right now. Let's go.
As you guys can see, Matt Hartford celebrating his win up here. The medal's going to go around his neck. The winter hat, the presentation of the Wally is going to make its way in here as well. And then, of course, with that famous ice cream scoop from Bill Bader here at the top end. And, Matt, you take out the most dominant car in the class this season. How great did that clutch foot work for you today?
I have no idea what it was in the finals, but I'll take it. You know, something. Dallas is as mean as anybody gets out here. But, you know, Rottler's been with us forever, and without them we couldn't be out here. And, of course, it's a double day for Getrix. We got Hector in the winner's circle, and everybody Rob's back at, you know, the shop, the Hose Connection, ZMAX, CTS, CIP1, of course, all the guys at Total Seal. We couldn't do it without you. And NHRA, we certainly couldn't do it without you. This, you have no idea what this means, because everybody kept saying, can you win again this year? And we came out really strong, and then we fell off. Guess what? We can.
Matt Hartford is living proof that preseason testing is overrated. And here's his tradition.
Did you hear Alan Reinhart? He did say 2 #1 qualifiers.
He did, and he even said it on the stage in the winner's circle. And I busted on him. And then, you know, Jason Galvin was saying the same thing during pre-race. And I'm like, guys, come on. I don't know what notebook you're looking at, but for a guy that's raced, you know, I've been in Pro Stock since 2006, and I had been #2 qualifier 3 different times. Twice I went to #2 qualifier on speed. I had the ET, but it turned into speed. So I'm keeping count of these hats. You know, these yellow hats right here, they're really hard to get. You know what's harder? Turning it into that. That is for us, that was the most dominating weekend we've ever had. I hope we have many more of them. But, you know, you guys know, you may never have another one. But that was, we had a great weekend. And I'll tell you what, our team, you know, Eddie Granacci, Chris Singleton, Adam Bastian, my wife Amber, they're rock stars on this car. And, you know, the team member I hardly ever talk about, he's a chassis builder. You may have heard of him, Jerry Haas. He's built a few cars around over the years, and you know, he's built my car, and it's definitely not the newest for sure, but it's a great car. And for anybody that doesn't know, Jerry Haas is my truck driver. He is the one that takes my car to every race on the circuit for the last 2 years. So he's as integral part of our team as anybody will ever get. And at the end of the day, I've never kept an original Wally in Pro Stock. I've given them to someone else, and then I get a duplicate. At the end of the day, I presented Jerry, our entire team presented Jerry with the original Wally and the hats, the Summit hat, the blue hat, and the yellow hat. And they're all back in St. Louis and Fenton, Missouri at his shop.
Well, Matt, congratulations once again. And I'm sure the winning you are not done with. Even expected another one later on this year. Keep up the good work, you and the team. Last question I have, I've been meaning to ask this for a while because I see the car in passing and going in the lanes, and I'm going to cover alcohol or whatever, but I'm reminded by that clip, why is there a Dalmatian on your door?
I have 3 of them. So I have 3 Dalmatians at home. And so that's actually the picture. If you go to our apparel trailer, if you go to Race Ugly, to the apparel trailer, all of our shirts have Dalmatians on them. And they're actually artist renditions of our actual dogs. So they actually look exactly like our dogs. But that's Piper on the passenger window. So she's always going for a ride with us, and we love it. And I have 2 black and white Dalmatians and 1 brown and white. So we call them the cows, you know, the black cows and the brown cow.
Mm-hmm. So Lee, 3 Dalmatians, 3 #1 qualifiers. Story is 3.
I'm not getting. No. I'll take more. No, I'll take more #1 qualifiers. I'm not getting more dogs. Calm down. You sound like my wife. Calm down. We're not getting another dog.
Well, final question for me. It's not even a question, but Matt Hartford, Sports Compact Series back in the day. Just kind of talk about that time and how much fun was that? Racing that series all those years back.
Oh, it was a ball. It's here. Let me see if I can do this. Let me turn on a light here. So back in the day, I ran Summit was my sponsor back in the day, and this is a Kenny Youngblood photo that I have that he did, and I think that was one we went 659, I believe, in Denver at 211. That's 2004, and that's with a V6. So I've been around some fast cars for a long time, and to win at the Summit Motorsports Park with Summit all there brings back a lot, because they were with me for a long time, and you learn a lot back then, because back then we didn't have the parts. You look at what happens in comp today and pro mod, you got all billet everything. Back then we had factory parts. We had lost foam heads, lost foam blocks, and we were running 650s with that stuff. So it's you learn a lot, and I think it helps you get to where you are today.
Matt, again, congratulations. Thank you for coming on the show. Always a pleasure to chat with you. We'll see you at the track, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Folks, we're going to take a quick break. Right after the break, we have some more drag racing to talk about, because there are so many classes at an NHRA national meet, and there's so much coming up this very weekend as well. And there's always something to talk about with drag racing. Right after the break, more on the Competition Plus Power Hour.
Competition Products, your source for hardcore engine parts for street, strip, and oval track. Our free catalog is packed with hundreds of product lines from the best-known manufacturers in the performance industry. Lowest prices guaranteed. Free shipping and handling on all orders over $149 in the continental U.S.
Need expert advice? Our knowledgeable staff is just a phone call away.
Competition Products, race parts sold by racers since 1970.
Darren, and for everyone in the chat, I am sorry. I have no juicy details on the fights in the alcohol pits, but there are juicy details of the fights on the track between the cars and the teams, and not the actual fisticuffs that occurred in the pits. It was a fascinating weekend in the top alcohol ranks, with major points implications, especially for Funny Car, but I would say on the dragster side, everyone kind of stayed the same. The biggest loser would be Jackie Frick. She went out round one to Matt Cummings. Matt Cummings has had that girl's number. They have met routinely on the regional side and in the finals, and he has won every time. Jackie Frick still looking for a win this year. She has not done it, though she has appeared in a multitude of finals. I know she is frustrated and certainly wants to pick up a Wally, whether regional or national, very, very soon. But all the top runners in points, Julie Natus, Tony Stewart, Sean Cowie, Matt Cummings himself, could have made a big move, but does not. They go out. The biggest mover would be Cody Crone, but he cannot capitalize and walk through the door fully. It is rather Kirk Wolf, a first-time national event winner of a single-car team, besting all the multi-car teams and establishing himself as certainly a capable driver with a capable team able to win national events.
He only had 4 round wins in his career coming into this race. He doubled that just this past weekend in Norwalk. First career win. And I'll tell you what, I'll be honest, going into that final round, I think everybody had their money on Cody Crone. You talk about this.
I would say so.
Obviously the future of our sport. And, when they hit the gas, that he had that cylinder out, and that allowed Wolf to drive around for the win. So congratulations to Wolf on the win. And man, I'll tell you what, top alcohol dragster just continues and continues and continues to put on a show every race.
It does. More people need to keep their eye on this class, and it has become so competitive. You need to live in the 20s. And honestly, you need to live in the low 20s, depending on the conditions, if you expect to win in top alcohol dragster. Tony Stewart had the lowest ET of the meet for top alcohol dragster at a 519. And he also had top speed, well over 275 miles per hour. These people in this class, they are absolutely flying in the quarter mile for with what they are working with. And what spectacular drag racing also. There were some close races. The second round matchup with Julie Natus and Kirk Wolf was an extremely close race. So you just don't know. If you qualify, the potential for you to win is there. Sean Cowie, they have got to figure something out. He even posted on his social media. He got lucky round one. He admitted he got lucky round one. But the competitors do not need to let that group figure out whatever is happening. They need to put the dagger in them, or they will certainly be a thorn in the side of all the other A fuelers, because we are about to see the West open up.
Yes,
and the people like Sean Cowie and Joey Severance, it is that pendulum in the top alcohol dragster and funny car ranks for points is about to swing, I feel. And in top alcohol funny car, let me say this. Bob McCosh is a pretty cool dude. And he said that he had been trying and waiting and working for a national event win for 40 years. And we're talking about an individual that is routinely a top 10 top alcohol funny car in the world. And he's been waiting for 40 years.
I'll tell you what, just a great story for Bob McCosh. Like you said, he's been out here for a long time. That final round going against the Killer Bees and Sean Bellemere in that final round. I said in the top alcohol dragster final that Cody Crone was probably the favorite going into that final where everybody wanted to see him win. Well, you got McCosh and Bellemere. Hey, it's a heads up race right there. We know Bellemere is one of the best to do it, but hey, when Bellemere had the problems off the starting line and Bob McCosh sailed on through for the win, how could you not be happy seeing a guy get his first career national event win in top alcohol funny car? It was amazing.
Yes, and I can tell, I met Bob earlier this year at Texas and haven't got to talk to him much, but there is a focus with that man, with everything that he has expressed. He has stated very clearly he is wanting that championship. Not just a regional one, but the national, the world championship in top alcohol funny car. He has revamped that program, and you can definitely tell that they have done that. That car is running extremely well, and they won a national event where the top four in the national point standings were all at. That's impressive.
So what are the points looking like right now? Is Bellemere still in the lead?
Bellemere is still in the lead. He has more races that he has attended and collected points at. And that is the strange thing with top alcohol funny car and top alcohol dragster. It's hard to have a direct point equivalent, if you will. When you look at the Camping World standings, you're like, okay, that's the points you've earned. That's it. But with top alcohol funny car and top alcohol dragster, you kind of have to factor in who has claimed what, who has not claimed this, and when are these points going to come into play. Such as I said, the Western Swing literally is about to happen, but within the Western Swing, you're also going to have more regionals come into play as well, such as Woodburn, and you will see more people collect points on the West. And then you're not going to see such as Jackie Frick and Julie Natus collect points, who have been racing Central and East. So you're about to see it all kind of balance out if those West Coasters, if you will, are able to perform. And certainly, I definitely expect Sean Cowie to figure things out and begin to surge forward and see the likes of Joey Severance put on yet another dominating display.
Lee, who's in the lead in top alcohol dragster?
It would be Julie Natus still.
Julie Natus. And Tony Stewart is second, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Again, the one that made the biggest move in points is Cody Crone with the top alcohol dragster platform. And Bob McCosh made the biggest move in points in top alcohol funny car. Granted, with all the other races that Sean Bellemere has been at, you see the points from second to fourth, which would be Matt Gill, Doug Gordon, Bob McCosh. That tightened. But Sean Bellemere at the moment is out by a significant margin.
Let me ask you a question, Lee. Were you upset when Natus went down to Wolf on Sunday? I'm just curious. It's a curious question. I'm just curious.
I prefer storylines of chatting with people who do not get a lot of airtime.
Okay. That was a great answer. I love that answer.
And it's also a very consistent answer because that's what I typically do.
I love that. I love that. Well, who I was rooting for, Madison Payne. She lost in the semis to Cody Crone, so I was a little upset about that. But like you said, I love storylines. So if Cody Crone could have went on to get the win, I would have been happy. But also happy to see Kirk Wolf get his first win as well. Love the storyline there.
And we're going to talk to him Thursday night on Between the Slits. He is the guest on my show on Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll chat with him on that and cover drag racing news from around the world of drag racing. Well, man, we still got a few minutes before we hit 10:30 on the East Coast, and I'm sure you got something you need to do, whether date, movie, or work, or something is still out there on the West Coast. Still, your whole evening ahead of you. What else can we talk about from the NHRA Summit Racing Equipment Nationals or beyond in the world of drag racing?
Man, we broke down so much. Obviously, we could look at the points in the Camping World Series, but I think, and this is a great question to ask you because you were actually there in person. What did you think of the Factory X kind of debut with Greg Stanfield on Saturday, I believe, at Norwalk?
Yes. I am glad you have brought that up. Some people are saying, "Oh, just forget the class and move on." No, let's not forget the class and move on. In fact, there should be rolling out a CompetitionPlus.com peak pit note with Greg Stanfield on his thoughts. Because remember, Greg Stanfield has done drag racing in a multitude of door cars, from the Super Stock and the Pro Stock, you name it. He's probably done it all. Aaron Stanfield, his son. I mean, they're definitely involved. I will say that car looks good.
It did, didn't it?
That car looks good.
It sounded good too.
And I agree. It sounded good.
Yeah.
I was up above the footage I got. I did film it. I am on top of the tower. The tower at Norwalk is actually where the media and the offices are, and you can go on top of the roof. And man, the sound from there of that hot rod, just that, it's a hot rod. And it looks right. I got to look at it closely while it was being teched for whatever reason. But man, that looks like a Camaro.
That does.
That looks like a pro stock car of the modern day. If we were in the 80s, you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, 80s pro stockers and how they looked, but this is a modern version with a Camaro. That's it.
Mm-hmm. And Drag Racing Central agrees with you. He says, and he's been saying this a lot, he says it should be the new pro stock. And he also goes on to say that one pass was more entertaining than pro stock has been the past 20 years. I wouldn't go that far.
Wow. Dang. I'm not going to go that far.
Yeah, I'm not going that far.
Pro stock. Don't get me wrong. But Greg Stanfield had some interesting statements with my questions concerning Factory X. I will say this, though. I think the most interesting response for the Factory X car. Yes, people enjoyed the pass. I think they loved the look of the car. I think they loved the sound of the car. I think there was a lot of excitement. But all that excitement, I don't know who made the decision that it would be a no-time run. the groan, the collective groan of that crowd. Oh, woo, man.
I said the same exact thing watching from home. When Alan Reinhart said it's a no-time run, I'm like, what? Why? What's the point? Put a time up on the scoreboard.
I don't know what they're trying to hide or I don't know, but the collective groan, I have never heard that kind of. It reminded me of groan at like a football, baseball, stick and ball for whatever reason. It was that. Oh, just a collective human mass groan of contempt in the moment.
I'll tell you what, though, that was a heck of a debut to see it on track for the first time at a national event. It looks good. It sounds good. And do you know when at all we could see this back on track? Like I said, at an NHRA national event?
Man, we're
supposed to get in Bristol.
Congratulations to the entire team. When you dive down into what it took, like they were trying to get that car together in the dark, literally with flashlights because of storms knocking out power to the shop. to get that thing on the hauler up there. It very well could not have been there. And with Jeff Turk's accident in his Factory X Blackbird, I mean, we haven't seen anything all year. And we were supposed to have exhibitions all the way back to Z-Max and the 4-wide. It didn't happen at Bristol. This was actually supposed to be a race on the schedule, not an exhibition, like a race, an elimination. Someone get probably a mini Wally, but a Wally. And we have just one, but I'll take that one. It is cool. Also, doesn't it look good as the Rod Shops theme as well? I mean, just shades of Butch Leal and
looks good. Oh, California Flash.
I like it.
Looks good. Looks good. Hey, Lee, as we come down to the end of the show, man, I just got to say, isn't it crazy how we are already at the Western Swing? Like, this is, I know there's participation award with all the Camping World Series, how, you make 2 qualifying passes, go out of races, you make the countdown. But aside from that, if you're one of those teams who are really pushing for a championship and want to run for a championship, like, it's time to get your stuff together now, because we're on the Western Swing. It's go time, man. I'm excited.
It is go time. It is go time. I want to answer this question from Andrew, though. What is going to happen to factory stock when Chevy cancels Camaro and Dodge cancels the Challenger? First, this is what will happen. They will continue to run Camaros and Challengers for a time. NHRA rules allow you to run older body styles even if they've been discontinued. For example, Oldsmobile Cutlass. Okay? Also, Dodge and Chevy will find something else. Ford will have something else. Well, Ford actually probably won't have anything beyond the Mustang because it has been such a long platform. It's actually at the #1 selling car ever. No, but nonetheless, what will happen is they'll find another platform. We always have not had Camaros in Pro Stock. We have not always had, Dodge Daytonas in Pro Stock. It always changes and cycles based on what? It is a marketing platform. So they'll just market something else. It's that simple.
What does Ford stand for, Lee?
First on race day.
Oh, okay. I thought it was something else, but it just came in my head. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I like the Mustang plug though. I dig it.
Drag Racing Central brings up a good point. He found a comment on Facebook from a NHRA tech individual, Matt. I cannot remember the last name, but that they're allowing other bodies. The Corvette body was discussed as well. Again, I think this class, once you see it grow and get bigger, it's not going to be a homogeneous situation where you are looking at cars that all look the same other than the stickers. And they're open to more body styles. And I think that's the purpose and the intent of this class, that it's not just Camaros, Mustangs, and Challengers. That might be what we're starting with, but they're going to have the allowance for other body styles within the manufacturers to come in. May very well even see something from Toyota in the future. I think that's the purpose of this class, is flexibility in competition within the NHRA that brings back a resemblance to the factory car.
We just got to wait and see and be patient and see how it all plays out. I'm looking forward to it, man. Like I said, after what they showed us this past weekend in Norwalk, I'm excited now. I'm excited.
Look, we've been waiting, and I think it was worth the wait. And Greg Stanfield was excited. You could tell he was excited about it. And others are excited about it. You can tell. And I think even that collective, with the no time, just shows you the excitement that everybody had. They were waiting to see what is that time, because that's a part of NHRA drag racing. As DRC mentioned out, those people would have a hard time with that. No prep kings. Well, look, when I go to a Southeast Gastro Association race and I know there's a no time situation because they don't display the times, I'm not upset. I know why I'm there, and I'm looking for just the win light, and I'm not concerned about the time that they're running. But when I'm at an NHRA national event, which is so closely tied to even land speed, because we're stopping clocks, and there is that connection, I expect there to be clocks. And the only pass for the whole entire national event that did not have a time and or speed was this pass. No wonder there was a collective groan.
And I was literally about to just ask you this, and Andrew puts it in the comments. You were there. How fast did it look, though, from in person?
It looked fast to me. It's interesting. I have the footage. I might go back and try to stopwatch it a little bit and see roughly where it is. But I'll put it this way. Good looking burnout, good looking car. It sounded good, and it went straight down Broadway. If I'll borrow a saying from Bob Fry, it looked good. Straight down the boulevard. Walt Walker, he says there'll be multiple cars in Topeka, and he also goes on to say,
I'm glad. I hope that's the case.
Yeah. So look forward to Topeka in a few months, August, I believe.
Yes. Hopefully I'm able to be at that event. You know, Darren, it is amazing that we are at the Western Swing. It feels like it was just 2 weeks ago I was in Bakersfield, California with you covering the March meet, and it has absolutely been a blur. I have a rare weekend at home, not complaining about the traveling, and about to start an epic July into August. So let's do it. It's going to be big.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. We're on the road to the countdown, road to championships now. Literally road to countdown with Pro Mod. We haven't talked about that. Road to the countdown.
Yeah, this was the last regular points race for Pro Mod. Yes. Mm-hmm. So haven't even got to really discuss that. So much news there. And then, look, drag racing overall. I don't care if you look at the PDRA, the Northeast Outlaw Pro Mod Association, NMRA, NMCA, Funny Car Chaos and Nitro Chaos. There are battles abounding that are worth following. Mm-hmm. The sport's healthy, ladies and gentlemen. It is.
Hey, when you get into the end of summer, early fall, that's when these big-time championship battles start brewing, and that's what we're about to be able to see in just a couple months. I'm excited. Like you said, it doesn't matter if it's NHRA Heritage Series, NHRA Camping World, the Lucas Oil Series, PDRA, doesn't matter. Southeast Gassers Association, championships are right around the corner. They didn't show time because sponsors are putting together 6 Second Club and 200 Mile Per Hour Club.
Okay, cool. It's still, I mean, I understand why people were like, oh, it was the only one the whole weekend. The whole weekend.
There you go.
So it'll be cool to see. Mm-hmm. It wasn't in competition, though, so it wouldn't have counted.
True.
For example, there has been a Mountain Motor Pro Stocker to go below 4 seconds. It has happened, but it was in testing. So it don't count. So yes, that Liberty Gear trophy gets lugged around everywhere to every event until someone does it.
Mm-hmm. There you go. What else we got, Lee? Before we wrap it up, what else we got?
Wow, man.
We got a lot in this show.
We got a lot in this show. Hey, 2 great guests. Great to talk with Matt Hartford. Always interesting perspective from him and the way in which he communicates. I found it fascinating about his interaction with raw material and that it has been so consistent. That's a fascinating to hear from him. And then great to talk with Lauren. Historic, momentous occasion. And again, we don't get to talk to the Sportsman racers enough. Obviously people want to hear from John Force. People want to hear from an Erica Enders. And I understand that. But there are so many good stories and so many good characters. And yes, I'm also sorry I can't tell you more about the fights because apparently you all want to know about that.
But just even with that, you talk about the Camping World Series. All our winners in the Camping World Series picked up their first wins of the season. All new winners in Norwalk. That's just amazing. Hector Arana, first win of the season, 18th of his career. He is 9th all time. You talk about a first to go to 200 miles per hour. He's 9th on the all-time wins list in Pro Stock Motorcycle. Matt Hartford, first win of the year, first win. So here's the thing. Leah Pruitt and Matt Hartford, I said this at the beginning of the show, first wins of the year from the number 1 qualifying position, and it's their first wins since Denver 2022. We're going back to Denver in a couple of weeks. 11th career win for Leah Pruitt, 6th career win for Matt Hartford. And now my connection's going out. Sucks.
I also want to point out, again, back to Top Alcohol Dragster, when the semifinals were set, everybody in that semifinal had not won a national event this year, period, whether they were looking for their first one ever or they were looking for their first one of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have on the Top Alcohol Funny Car side with Bob McCosh and Phil Ease, two people who had never won a national event. And shout out to Phil Ease in that ultrasonic Chevrolet Top Alcohol Funny Car. He had never won a NHRA national event round, and he made a semifinal round appearance. That's pretty cool.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. And now that my connection's back, you keep it on the first-time winners. Yes, Blake Alexander has won before, but that was in Top Fuel. He won Norwalk and Sonoma back in 2018, got his first career win in Norwalk. Well, what a coincidence. He gets his first funny car win ever at the same place where he got his first Top Fuel win, Norwalk. And get this, he becomes the 18th different driver in history to win in both nitro classes, Top Fuel and funny car, joining his team owner, Jim Head. And there may be some people who weren't watching the show when I said this at the beginning of the show. So I'm going to say it again. He joins the likes of Don the Snake Perdome, Mark Oswald, Gene Snow, Frank Hawley, Kenny Bernstein, the Budweiser King, Tom the Mongoose McEwen, Anthony Ace McCullough, Mike Dunn, Scott Coletta, Jim Head, like I just mentioned, Ron Capps, TJ, Tommy Johnson Jr., Gary Selzy, The Wild Thing, Melanie Troxel, Dale Worsham, J.R. Todd, and Sean Langdon. Blake Alexander joins that list of who's who, legends, champions in nitro racing.
I'm going to go out and say it. Antron Brown will be the first one to do it in all professional categories. I'm going to put it out there now.
There you go. There you go.
Well, Darren, look, as always, it's a pleasure, and it has been a pleasure to host, along with Darren Williams Jr. here, the Competition Plus Power Hour, along with each and every one of you watching. We hope you enjoyed the show. Hit the like button, hit the share button. Come back next Tuesday. We'll do it again and talk about what?
Hold on.
Oh,
Next Tuesday's 4th of July. Next Tuesday, 4th of July, man.
It is?
Yeah. Are we going live on 4th? I mean, I'm down. If we're going live 4th of July, I'm down. Just saying.
We might have to do that. Granted, no one might watch because they'll probably all be watching.
Middle of the day show. Before the,
Middle? Okay. Well, I already know my schedule. That's not going to work.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I might be back in Indiana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hey, if we do a 4th of July show, I'm down. I don't
know. Maybe I can work it out in the middle of the day. Maybe I can do it from a race. Maybe I can do it from a race shop.
Well, maybe since it's on a Tuesday, it'll be hard to get some guests. We kind of reformat the show and just kind of something different, like best of so far of 2023 or something like that. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Put in the comment section what you think we should do. Do we deserve a break? Don't say don't. No,
we don't need no break.
They're not going to give us that.
We're on a roll. We're on a roll, man.
What would you like to see out there? Let us know. Email me, MondayMorningRacer@gmail.com. It's that simple. Let me know. And email that dude over there, American Hot Rod Entertainment @gmail.com. Right? Yes. Yeah. That's right.
Don't email me. My storage is full. Don't email me.
The storage is full. It's called a delete button. Okay. Delete.
I'm joking.
Button.
Send me an email. I'm joking.
All right. Folks, it's been a lot of fun. Darren's been a lot of fun. By the way, folks, he is the assistant editor for CompetitionPlus.com. You can read a lot of good material from him, Bobby Bennett, others on CompetitionPlus.com, the place where you can believe what you read on the internet. And swing by, because there's a lot that we talked about tonight that is expounded upon, even Lauren's win right there on CompetitionPlus.com.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
All right, I'm done. So
I am too.
Yeah, we're going to hit a commercial. We're going to check out. Take care, folks. We'll see you at the next drag race.
Good night, everybody.